Welcome to the All-Star Planning Podcast. My name is Kelsey, and this is the place where I talk all things teacher lesson plans. Today, I am talking sub-plans. Nobody likes sub-plans. Nobody likes writing them. Nobody likes having to come up with them. Nobody wants to skip work. Because usually it's more of a headache than it's actually worth. You usually will spend more time creating sub-plans. It creates more frustration than just going to work not feeling well. But going to work not feeling well is not good for anybody. You spread germs. You, with germs, will just run yourself down because you're working all day, and it's just not good for anybody. So when you're sick, I suggest that you take off from work. Now, that's not always the easiest thing to do. So I am giving you just a few of my sub-plan tricks, some of my hacks, as you may say. They are things that have worked for me. So this is all based on in-building teaching. That is my primary experience with sub-plans, so that's what we're going with. I have taken sick days every single year, and that is because I get sick quite often. It's usually just a cold. It's the way that I work. My body will beat me up if I get a cold. I really get beat up. It's just kind of the way that it works for me. It's the way my body is. So I have learned to accept it. I know that I'm going to get a cold within the first 6 weeks of school. Some years it knocks me out, other years it doesn't. I don't know what it is. My body just knows when vacation is coming. So for Christmas break or spring break usually is the point where my body goes, oh, okay, now is the time to get sick. I'm a working machine. That's really the way that I work. I enjoy working. It makes me happy. I like going to the school building. That's why I do this podcast, is because I like working. I like having projects and things to do, and that's the way that I am. Work is my leisure time, as strange as that is. I'm sure there's like 1% of people who agree with me on that. But regardless, my body gets me sick on vacation quite often. So the first thing that I would recommend, especially if you are early in your career, is to get a doctor's note whenever you can. I know that you don't always go to the doctor when you have a cold, but I tend to go to the doctor because my body tends to get sick right after, I'm sick on vacation, and then everybody goes back to school and I stay home. And I just don't want to look like somebody who is trying to extend their vacation. So I get a doctor's note when I can, just to put it on the record that yes, I actually am sick. I am not the type of person to take leisure days. It's not who I am. I'm not going to make a comment on people who do that because that's not my business. But that's just not me. So when it comes to sub-plans, there's a few ways to go about it. The first thing that I try to do is review. The reason I like to do review is because when I am not in the school building, there is a very small chance that my students are going to have a chemistry teacher cover the class. Because I have multiple sections, one person is more than likely not going to cover my entire day unless it's a permanent sub, and we don't have any chemistry permanent substitutes in our school right now. So because of that different person for each section, I feel like I would just wind up reteaching it anyway, because every one of those teachers would have taught it in a different way from each other, and then also a different way from me. So I would just wind up reteaching anyway. So the first thing that I try to do is review. So I have accumulated a bunch of review assignments over the years. So I find it decently easy to just pull a review assignment. I email it to the secretary and she will forward it to whoever needs it. And then on occasion, I have been known to put something on Google Classroom. My school went 1-to-1 last year, coincidentally, right in time for school closures. So every kid in my school had a device. So it was very easy for me to just tell the kids to get on Google Classroom, and then I would just put something on there. And usually it was like, watch a video, answer these questions, and it was something that was pretty straightforward. So on occasion, I come up with a brand new review assignment for the kids. It helps to refresh their memories on things that are already learned, things I've already taught them, things they should already know, and it's really not any major brain power because they will have their notes, they have each other, and it's mostly a smooth thing. And the second thing that I will do is save extra copies. So if there is a worksheet or an assignment that I print out, make copies of, and I don't get to it, or I find that it doesn't quite fit right, or maybe the kids aren't ready for it, I will put a binder clip on those copies, wrap them up in a piece of paper that says Revi emergency subplans, use for this class, this period, anytime after October 15th. Because I know, based on my very strong, reliable curriculum, that October 15th, the kids are learning atomic theory. So if I'm absent in January, the kids could very easily do a review activity on atomic theory if I'm out sick. And that has been my most effective subplans. Really what happens, I have the Remind app, so I have a few kids that I would trust to go through my drawers. I mean, I trust 99% of them. It's just this one kid that I know is like a big helper and won't try to trick the substitute. I will just text that kid on the Remind app and I'll say, hey, I'm out sick today. Could you do me a favor and just pull out a bundle of papers from the drawer? That's your assignment. You can pick whatever you want. So I have things that are like, this is for chemistry students after October 15th. This is for chemistry students after December 12th. This is for chemistry students after February 14th. And all of these things, I'll just have a kid shop through and say, hey, what do you guys want to do? A color by number, or do you want to read about Dmitri Mendeleev? And they get to pick whatever they want. And I leave it up to them, and I just ask the kid, just let me know what assignment you're doing. And then in my subplans, it's super, super easy. This is how I set them up. Just a blanket statement for subplans. So I will just write a letter that I kind of use through the whole year, and I send it to whoever needs my subplans, and saved in my Google Drive, and I just change teeny tiny things. So the first thing is, dear whoever, Kelsey Revi is out sick today, enter the date. These are the classes that I have scheduled for today, and then I'll list them in a grid. So I'll say, the students, I have a few like reliable students that I picked them like 4 to 6 weeks after the school year starts, after I get to know the personalities of all my kids, and I kind of list them. So I'll say, first period, my reliable kids are Sally, Bob, Joe, and Elizabeth. These students have been contacted either via email or through the Remind app. These students are going to pick an assignment from the leftovers drawer or the review drawer, the emergency subplans drawer, whatever I label it that year. Students are expected to turn in their assignment to the turn-in bin at the end of class. That's pretty much it. I just change the date, the names of the students, and as I go throughout the year, I just add leftover copies to this turn-in bin. Sometimes I just find stuff and I think, wow, it would be really good for the kids to do this a second time. So if I am doing something on, let's say it's intermolecular forces, that's a topic that's kind of difficult for some of my kids. So I will do a worksheet with them in December. Then it turns out that they were just kind of okay on it. I will take it back to the copy room and make an entire extra set of copies and save them for them to review it again in March or April when I'm sick. That's kind of what I do. Just because they did it 4 months ago doesn't mean they can never do it again. And also, if it's something that you've already taught, something that you've already walked them through, it's super easy. The issue with subplans is when you are going to be absent for a long time. So I was absent for a family emergency. I was out for an entire week, and that was hard. So what I did then, I kind of scrambled. That was my worst sub plans experience ever, because there was a lot going on in the background. But really what happened, I found a giant review packet and I said, this is what the kids are doing for 5 days. I probably shouldn't have done that, but all things considered, that's what happened. As far as I am concerned, family will always come first. My job will always come second. That was a very big family emergency, so I just relied on that. That's what I did for my chemistry students, and then at the same time I was teaching physics, which is, again, an entirely different story. But the physics kids were given a bunch of reading comprehensions on different scientists. I honestly went to Teachers Pay Teachers and I put in, I don't remember what I searched, but whatever it was, I got some results for reading comprehensions on scientists. So that's what they did for a week. They learned about 5 different scientists, and when I came back, we jumped right back into things. I think that it's very important that when you are at school, that you are at school working hard, doing your best. So I kind of save these silly, light-hearted reading comprehension color by numbers for when I'm not there. So in addition to finding just basic reading comprehensions, there are a lot of things that you can just give your students that are kind of a plug and play. So if you are in a one-to-one school or a school with devices or a place where you can schedule them to get into a computer lab or there's a laptop card or something, you could always do a current event. You can just have kids research a current event. You can very easily assign things in different platforms. For instance, my very first school, they were a member of some reading program. It would like match the kids based on their Lexile levels, and then they would get a reading comprehension thing that was done online, and it was really just like the teacher had to assign it and the computer did most of the work. I was also at my first school, we were subscribed to some digital science lab thing. I did that once or twice for sub-plans. And now after the 2019-2020 school year, I think more schools and districts and upper admin are realizing the importance and convenience of technology, because some schools and districts were very far behind. But we all know, the teachers know, how helpful all of this technology can be. It can also be a big pain. But with this added technology, some things become far easier. So it's very simple in a lot of cases to just assign something that was online. For instance, a bunch of these programs come with pre-made stuff, or teachers can make things and kind of add them to the library, and then different teachers can use the same assignment across the entire country, the whole world, whatever it is. And I think that that is awesome, because we need to look out for each other, because teaching is hard, especially when you get up at 4 in the morning and you feel sick and you can't go to work, and now you think, ugh, I have to write sub-plans. And it's basically the middle of the night and you're not feeling well. And that's not a fun time for anybody. So anything that we can do to support each other and to provide convenience to each other, especially when we're feeling crappy, is helpful. Regardless of what you do, realize that your sub-plans are not supposed to dominate your entire sick day, and it is important that you try to plan whatever you can so that your sub-plans aren't stressful. So what I recommend is finding a few review activities that you can kind of tag to a calendar and say, these things can be used after this date, as in the kids have already learned everything that they need to complete the activity. And you can direct your substitute to a particular drawer or binder or cabinet, and they can just shop through whatever you have there. And then when it comes to curriculum, you're just going to have to push everything back a day or two until you're back at school. I hate doing that. It really stinks to have everything planned and then have to push everything forward a day or 2 or 3 or an entire week. But things happen, and that's part of the reason why I tell you to only schedule or think that you're going to teach for 150 days, because that 180 is not going to happen. You will be sick, you will be asked to go on a field trip, your kid will be sick, something's going to happen where you can't come to school, or you just don't have a teaching day. So plan for 150 instead of 180. There is a podcast episode on that. I will link it in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, I will link it in the video description box. And that's it. So subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss episodes, my teaching tips, my planning tips. New episodes come out every Tuesday. And if you haven't already, please sign up for the All-Star Planning Introductory Masterclass. It is where I show you how the 5 pieces of the All-Star Planning curriculum come together so that you have a strong, reliable curriculum, and you will know exactly what you are teaching and when, so it'll be very easy for you to assign clumps of review work and give it a date, because your calendar will roughly be planned out. You can find that masterclass at plan.kelseyreeby.com. I will link it in the show notes. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, I will link it in the video description box. And that is all. I'll see you next time. Bye.